Keeping track of routers, small switches, and network tools often means piling them onto a nearby desk or leaving them sitting on the floor because they lack built-in mounting ears. We can solve this quickly with a 1U cantilever rack shelf. It gives you a flat, perfectly level storage surface that mounts right into your rack and holds up to 44 pounds. You will need a few basic things for this installation: an EIA 310 compliant 19-inch rack, the shelf itself, 4 M6 cage nuts and screws, 4 C-cup washers, and a standard Phillips screwdriver. Moving hardware from loose storage to a secured rack shelf physically protects your mission-critical equipment from spills, drops, and everyday environmental hazards. This diagram shows the logic behind a server rack's center of gravity. Installing heavy gear at the top of the frame creates a pendulum effect. Keeping that same weight at the bottom anchors the entire unit securely to the floor. To maintain this stability, always install your heaviest equipment starting from the very bottom of the rack and work your way upward. Violating this crucial bottom-to-top rule turns a standard server rack into a severe tipping hazard during routine maintenance tasks. Vertical server space is measured in rack units, or U. Finding the boundary of a single U is often the most confusing part. This diagram reveals a specific alternating pattern. Within a single U, 3 holes are separated by 2 0.625-inch gaps, followed by a narrower 0.5-inch gap. The boundary line dividing one U from the next sits exactly in the middle of that narrow gap. Manufacturers often help identify this boundary with a physical notch, a small punched hole, or a painted line. Keeping the shelf hardware strictly within this 3-hole boundary prevents a cascading misalignment that throws off all equipment above or below it. Step up to your rack and check the vertical rails. You will encounter either pre-threaded round holes or unthreaded square holes. If the rack features square holes, you must manually install M6 cage nuts to create a threaded receiver for your screws. Pinch the side wings on the nut, hook one edge into the square opening, and press until it snaps firmly into the rail. For this 1U shelf, insert a cage nut into the top and bottom holes of your chosen 3-hole group, leaving the center square hole completely empty. Using these specific receivers ensures the mounting hardware can support the shelf's full 44-pound capacity without stripping out under tension. This is the 10-inch cantilever tray we are installing. It is a single piece of cold-rolled steel designed to be suspended entirely from these side mounting ears. Notice the raised ridge running along one edge of the tray. Orient the shelf so this ridge sits at the back of the cabinet. It acts as a protective bumper to prevent expensive equipment from sliding off the rear of the shelf. Align the shelf ears with your installed cage nuts. Slip a C-cup washer onto each M6 screw and thread them into the nuts loosely by hand. Only use your Phillips screwdriver to fully tighten the hardware after all 4 screws are properly aligned and catching the threads. Hand threading first guarantees perfect alignment, while the final torque against the C-cup washers provides the structural rigidity necessary to prevent the cantilevered weight from sagging. Now that the shelf is secure, you can safely place your non-rack mountable device onto the tray surface. This close-up view of the shelf base shows the ventilation slots. These cutouts allow air to circulate freely around your hardware, preventing heat from building up within the rack. As a final best practice, separate your cables. Route power down one side of the rack and data down the opposite side to keep the deployment professional and organized. Combining a rigidly mounted shelf with proper airflow and strict cable separation transforms disorganized hardware into a stable, enterprise-grade network deployment.